All right. Alrighty, guys. We should be good to go here. We're all set up to live stream today. So, guys, welcome back to another live stream today. We're going to be kind of going over some geometry node stuff, kind of getting into some modeling, pretty much whatever we want to. This will, unfortunately, be the last premium live stream for this channel. We've had a good run. This was kind of more of an experiment. So if you are watching this in the future, or currently, this is going to be the last official live stream for our backstage pass. But nonetheless, we're still going to have fun. We're going to get our hour and 30 minutes worth here, and we're going to do the best we can to teach you guys some new Blender tricks and have fun in Blender as usual. So as you can see here, I have this really cool proximity-based effect that we've done. Just kind of want to show you guys like an overview of what that looks like. Now we have this underlying shape, and if I press play, you can see that this shape is sort of made of these different cubes, and these cubes are based on a grid, and I'm going to show you kind of like how this works. This is going to be a pretty cool one. Now you can see that as they move, right, they kind of, here, let me see if I can slow this down. You can see like as they move, right, we're going kind of slow here. I'll try like 12 frames a second. As they move, they rotate out of the way as well, right? So you can see they move. We look for the side here, but they also sort of like rotate, right? You can kind of see they have some rotation to them, which is really cool. So this is a really neat effect, and I think that this is something to consider when it comes to geometry nodes. Proximity is definitely underutilized. So definitely check this one out. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the nodes, the underlying nodes here. So now they might look a little bit complex. We're going to go over kind of like how this works. I'm going to have this be playing on the top right here, so you can see this effect. So this effect is really interesting because it's really not utilizing too much here. You can see that we have our regular cube set up, right? And this is being instanced onto a mesh volume that has distributed points. So really, we can change this to anything we want. Right now, the underlying structure looks like this. But if we take this shape here and we extend it, we extend this, right? We scale it, whatever we want to do. You can see that we can really map out anything we want to. Right now, this only takes the shape of whatever it is. In fact, I could even extrude this up, and I can have even more stuff going on at the top here. And you'll notice they still react, but we don't really get the effect we're looking for there. So I'm going to get rid of these external parts, okay? And we're going to go over this basically from scratch, like how would we create something like this. Again, let's just go over the effect one more time. Hello to our 12 viewers. How are you guys doing today? Again, you're pushing through, right? You're pushing through, and you're pushing objects out of the way. Let's go ahead and set this up. In fact, we can set up pretty much anything we want because we're in Blender and we can do anything. So I'm in a new file here, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make my face a little bit bigger so you guys can see me here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my geometry node setup. I'm going to make a new setup, and I am going to first convert this to a volume. So I'll just do a mesh to volume. All right, and by converting this to a volume, we now are able to distribute points inside this volume. So we can say distribute points in volume. Now, right now, you can see, okay, there's our points, right? Looks good. We can increase the density, but they're scattered in like a weird random way. So I'm going to click on grid, and now they're scattered in a grid format, which is, well, exactly what we want, right? Now, the next thing we're going to do here is this being created live. Oh my God, did I not set up the... I don't think I set up the settings correctly. That's my fault. Is this being created live? Yeah, this is being created live. Sorry. I was looking at the comments. I don't think I set up the permissions correctly on this live stream, and that is totally my fault. I accidentally set up the incorrect live stream settings here. Okay. There we go. All right. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So what we're going to do next, you just checking in. How's it going? Thanks, mostly Colin, not just kind of Colin, but mostly Colin. All right, we're gonna instance on points next here, guys. Just move this up there. Now, because we instance on points, we don't have anything to instance, so we'll instance a cube. We're gonna go ahead and take that size and run a value node into it. Go ahead and do something like that, okay? And now you can see that we have all of our cubes. Now, if we want to move these cubes, we can actually go to translate instances, and this will allow us to move them like this, which is really cool. But we kind of want to like move them individually, so how are we going to do that? Well, let's first save this real quick. I'll just go ahead and save this as proximity example. And this is example like 500, but I'll just call it example 6. All right, now we need another object. Let's add in a sphere. If you guys are just getting here, welcome back, or welcome. I want to drag my sphere into geometry nodes because I want to be able to actually use this. And I want to make sure that it is set to a geometry proximity. And we're going to run our data into a geometry proximity. And then the distance should affect the translation. Now notice how when I move this, nothing happens. We need to have our object set to relative. Now when I move this, you can see everything else moves. But it's not moving the way that we want. So I'm going to use a combine XYZ node. Oops. I'm going to plop it here, but I'm only going to affect the Z. So now when I move this, you can see that the Z is affected. We're still not getting quite what we want here. So how do we like refine this? Well, we're going to use something called a map range node, and then we can just reverse this first value here. Now you can see as I move this, things move out of the way, right? Which is really exactly what I want. Now I'll just tab into edit mode. I'll scale this cube down until there's just like a thing of like a line of cubes. And then I'll scale it on the X a little bit too. And you can see that now we're getting our effect that we want, right? So I can scale this sphere up, move it, and now we're getting some motion. But you can see that our map range isn't perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust some of these values here. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this a little bit here. That looks good. Now you can see that it's being adjusted automatically. All right, let's go ahead and do, that's a good fall off there. So you can see that some are still inside of the, they're like inside of the cube, so we're going to need to adjust this a little bit more. That looks okay. All right, cool. Now you can see that this is properly working, right? We're actually moving things out of the way, which looks great. So we're moving things out of the way using geometry nodes here. I also want them to scale. So we're going to do scale instances as well. And we're going to plug in the exact same thing from our map range into the scale. And now you'll see right here that not only do we get our scaling, but we also get our translation as well. And I'm going to add a vector scale node in between so I can intensify this just a little bit more. And if I feel like it's not correct, like the fall off is weird, then what I can do is I can actually duplicate this map range node, and I'll go ahead and plug this in separately so that I can actually adjust it as needed. That looks like a little bit better. Cool. All right, we're getting somewhere here. This is looking cool. I also want them to have some subtle rotation as well, so we're going to do that as well. I know you from Instagram. Do you have some kind of collaboration with CG Cookie? Yes, I do work with CG Cookie on a lot of their YouTube projects and some of their live streams as well. Thank you for noticing. But yeah, I do have my own like Instagram, YouTube presence as well, but I really enjoy working with CG Cookie. We did have, so prior to this live stream, we actually had a like a premium membership, but we're no longer doing that. Well, not currently. Might offer something like that in the future. All right, same concept here. I actually want to plug my distance into, you know what? Let's do a random. Let's do a random value, if I can spell it correctly. We're gonna plug this into the rotation, okay? And we want to plug our distance into the. Is it the seed? What do I want it here? Let's see if that works. They should have some rotation to them a little bit. Doesn't seem to want to work. Oh, is it? Hold on, let me think. Because I did this the last time and it worked really, really well. Oh, what are we making? We're making this geometry proximity effect right now, where when we move an object, other geometry is affected, which is really cool. This is like a really fun effect too. There's a lot you can do with this too. And we're going to play around a little bit more with this concept. This is a fun one, though. Look at how they just pop up and down. So cool. Now, with our random value, this should be animated as we move. I'm trying to remember exact. Oh, I think I remember how to do it now. We're going to do combine XYZ. Let's try this. Try this. Oh, yeah, it's working a little bit. Okay, it is working a little bit. You know what? Let's just try it. I'm going to add a reroute node here. And we're going to, I love the reroute node. I don't use it enough, but what's cool about the reroute node, if we grab it here, is you can literally just expand off of it. So now, you can see that they're rotating. It's very subtle, but they are actually indeed rotating. And if we want to scale this effect up, we can do so. In fact, let's scale it up like 5 times. Now you can see they're really, really rotating. See how they're rotating as we move? So not only are they rotating, right, they're rotating, scaling, and moving along, which is fantastic. This is a cool effect. Let's look at it a little bit more in detail here. Again, it's a little bit messed up where they're kind of falling into the sphere a little bit, but overall, this effect is pretty awesome. Look at that. Very cool. You can also change the color as well, so I'll show you how to do that as well. Let me go ahead and make my head a little bit smaller for you guys here. All right, you helped me on Instagram? Yes, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you, thank you. All right, we're gonna go to geometry nodes here. I'm gonna click here. Now this is what we have so far. Nothing too crazy. It might look a little wild, but it really isn't that bad. And if you want later, I can organize it for you guys so you can kind of see like what's happening here. All right, let's do this. We have 2 map ranges. This controls that. That controls this. Perfect. 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 Okay. That looks like a little bit more organized for me. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to set up a material. So let's go ahead and go to our shading tab. Let's make a new material. I'm just going to make this pink. Now you'll notice how nothing changes, and that's because we actually have to set the material in geometry nodes. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on set material. We're going to change it to that new material. Now it's working correctly. Now how do we actually like change where things are like based on the proximity? Well, we're going to need a stored attribute, stored name attribute. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of create like a fall off. So I'm going to call this fall off. Okay. We're going to set this to float point for now. And then we're going to come back to this value in just a second here. We're going to go to the shading tab. We're going to add a gradient. All right. We want the gradient to be spherical. And then we want to run that into a color ramp. Okay. Sorry, color ramp. Typing too fast here. Perfect. And then I'm going to squeeze these colors a little bit here. Sorry, we want the gradient texture to be right here. And this to be here. Perfect. And then we need some mapping, so we'll do some texture coordinate. We'll do, let's do object. All right, let's do, let me see. Oh, it's because we didn't realize the instances, I think. Let me just see what happens. Yeah, okay, so we have to realize the instances to get the effect proper. Awesome. I'm going to add some mapping here. Cool. And then what we should be able to do is for the location of our like center of this thing, we should be able to plug in an attribute. And I believe we called our attribute fall off. And then we're going to plug in the color to the location. And then let's see. Yep, and it does work because look, we can adjust it here in geometry nodes. So we should just be able to plug in another map range node here. We're going to have to play around with this a little bit. We should be able to plug it in here. And it does work a little bit, but we're going to have to be really, really careful with like how we do this. So let's do this. Let's see. Float. We want what do we want? A vector. I think we want a vector, which is not what we're getting here. We're getting an integer, I think. Or no, actually, technically, I guess it is a vector. Let's do 1, 0. So it's going to be hard to notice, but the gradient fall off is working a little bit. It's a little bit funky. Let's check it in our shading tab. Any idea what is causing the dimple that makes them fall into a sphere? Actually, no. We will fix that. Right after we do this, we'll definitely fix that. Absolutely. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so now what we need to do, I'm sorry, I forgot. Instead of using the texture coordinate, we're using the geometry proximity as the coordinate. So now, if we do this, I'm almost positive we did this correctly. Let's see. Hold on. Do vector scale. Should be working. Should be working. Sort of. All right, now let's go back here. Everything should be working correctly. Okay. So it is working. You can see that we have black, and just to test it, if we change this color to like yellow or green, and the other one to like, I don't know, blue, you can see that as we move our cube, we're getting that color change. It's just not quite exaggerated enough, and I'm trying to figure that out. Trying to figure out why that is. Let's just do a radial. It's kind of working. Let's see. So let me see something. That's a little bit better. There we go. That's a little bit better of a fall off. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at why we're getting such a weird result with our first map range here. Could be the X distance that gets near the cube over the center of the sphere. Honestly, no clue. Honestly, missed the first few minutes. You know what it actually probably is? Most likely is probably exactly what you just said. It's where the this is located. So if we go into edit mode and adjust this, you can see that we get like a different fall off. Originally, we had something like this, 1 and 0, and then we have 0 and 1. Typically, it's going to look like that. And you can see we have our nice little like fall off here. But yeah, we are getting like a weird, we are getting some kind of weird thing going on here. I'm wondering what that is. That is whack. Let me apply the scale. I doubt that'll change. Oh, maybe, okay, maybe it was the scale. Okay, so with the smaller scale, now if we animate this, I just want to show you guys what this looked like if it was animated. If we start here, right about here, we press I to insert a keyframe, and we'll just go out to frame 60. Move it along, press I. This is our effect as of right now, right? We have our sphere moving. It goes over to the right, and we have not only our color being changed, but also our size, rotation, scaling, you name it. You could pretty much change anything. In fact, you could probably even change, there's a lot you could change. You could change literally anything that you want that we are able to change in geometry nodes. So, yeah, it's something that wants to go to 0. Oh, you know what? Let me move this over a little bit too. There's a lot you can do with this. Right now, this is already so cool. Now, here's what's even cooler, and you might not even realize this is possible. This is where it gets really crazy, and I won't go too much into this because I'm afraid this might like become a tangent here. I'm just gonna add a reroute node here and here, and we're just gonna kind of do a little something like this. Hold on. Okay, so what you could do, if you really wanted to get crazy, you can merge these by distance and like really merge them in a small manner, and then you could like convert them to a curve. We'll do mesh to curve, and then of course curve to mesh, and we'll run a circle profile into that with a radius of 0.02. So now you have something that looks like this, right? Little wacky, right? But then you get into stuff like this. You come over here, you do, I don't know, handle type, and we'll do spline type, and we'll set that to a Bezier, so we get these nice curves. Now you get some really weird results. And then if you mess with the distance, you can get this weird, like, almost this like spider web kind of like structure, right? Now this might not be what you're looking for, but if you're anything like me, you love to experiment and you love to put pieces together that shouldn't really go together. So, but like this kind of shows you an example of like, oh, wait, that's actually kind of interesting, like that you could even do that, right? One of the things we talk about a lot with geometry nodes is the fact that you really want to like experiment a lot. Like even right now, like look at that. Again, you don't have to do this, but look at this. You have these little weird blobs that turn into cubes. It's kind of a cool effect, right? Now, you don't have to do any of this. This is just an example, but you can, right? Cool. I like what we had before, though. This is kind of a neat effect. I just want to show you guys that really cool example. Yeah, it's a cool trick, right? I know. That was a cool one. See if I have another project we can take a look at before we move on to our next thing. A lot of the times what I'll do is I'll just jump right into geometry nodes and I will start tinkering around and seeing what I can come up with. Oh yeah, this is a little, this is a plexus animation that I made earlier based on a Ducky 3D tutorial that I saw. This one I did on my own though. So I'm just going to add a cube. I'll subdivide it a few times. So this like animation, this is a really cool one because you can plug in a grid. Like right now I have my own object, but you can also plug in like just a grid. You can increase like the scale of like how this thing is going to look. Right? Kind of have this style animation. I don't know if you guys have like seen this before. This is kind of like that plexus style animation. I don't know what you would call it. Plexus, whatever. Something simple, but pretty cool, right? And this is all just based on like noise being animated over time with the frame node, which is really awesome. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. Now I think if I remember correctly, I actually had a Fibonacci. Did I do the Fibonacci sequence on here, or was it my MacBook? One of these I did the Fibonacci sequence, and it was really, really cool looking, but I don't see it on here. What's this one? Oh yeah, this is another cool one. I'll show you this one, and then we'll build our own. So this one was like just, how do I explain this? This is like a noise texture driving mesh, which has like a string inside of it. So you're getting this kind of like weird, like abstract string effect. This is all geometry nodes too. Not too crazy. You can screenshot this. I'll move this stuff over for you guys. Nothing too crazy. Those are the nodes right there. Really nothing too fancy. But the key thing here is this scene time driving our noise texture, which is really important. And then the multiply is really just to enhance the effect or speed it up or slow it down. So super awesome stuff regardless. So literally I'll come in here. It's like default at this point, right? A, select everything, right? Delete, Shift A, cube, add your cube, go into geometry nodes and click on a new geometry node setup. And we're back to the start and we can create pretty much anything that we want. A lot of people talk about procedural modeling, which is something that is entirely possible. It's entirely possible. So what I want to do now is show you guys like how I would go about modeling something if I really wanted to. There's a lot of ways that you can do this. One of the easiest ways is to go to extrude mesh, and you can see that we're extruding all of the sides of this, but if we only want to select one side, we can do that by selecting the index of one side. We're going to compare this index and find what it's equal to. We want it to be equal to a certain index. So I'll do equal. And in this case, we're doing integer. We'll click the result into here. And now you can see, if we go into wireframe view, it's clearly selecting this edge over here. And it's extruding it. But if I change that to 1, now it's selecting this face. You can see that as I shuffle through them, it selects each and every face. As I get to number 6, though, I can no longer do anything. And you're probably thinking, wait, that doesn't make any sense. There's 6 sides to a cube, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But no, we start at 0, right? When we do computer science and programming, we always start at 0, and we go up to 5. So if I wanted to extrude the right side, I could do that, right? So right now we've extruded the right side, but there's no way to tell that we've done that, right? You could do a subdivision surface on this. Okay, and you could crease the edges here, but you still can't really tell that anything's being done. So I'm going to show you how to like tell. You can do an edge split, or sorry, split edges. And then what you can do is you can do well, there's a lot that you could do here. Let me see what subdivision let's do subdivision surface. So now you can see the side that was clearly cut, right? It was cut right here. And here's what's really cool. I can extrude this as much as I want. I could extrude it this way, and then I could take that, right? And I could extrude that. I could say, you know what? I want to extrude only the side of that. But wait, it's extruding every side. So how would we select the index that we want? We would simply tell it, I would like you to extrude the, which side would it be? It would be side number 6, which is that side. And then I can decide how much I want to extrude it right there, right? Notice how when we do these things, now we can like procedurally model with a cube. So we can procedurally model pretty much anything we want. Does this also work with vertices? Yes, it does. If you click here, you can choose vertices. However, in this case, it's really hard to see. Like you can see them right here, right? But I think you also have to define which direction you want the vertices to go, right? So this is really like how you would do things like that. And then another thing you can do is you can scale, right? So we can say scale elements. And I only want to scale a face, but which face do we want to scale? Well, you know what? I want to scale this face. So now look, now I can taper this edge in. See that? Pretty cool, right? So I can taper that edge in. And then you know what? I want to extrude that edge back out. So I want to go here. I want to extrude again. But this time, I only want to extrude that exact edge. And that's how we do it. And then look, now we can extrude this edge. Maybe I didn't want it scaled in as much. So I scaled a little bit less, right? This is like procedural modeling. Obviously, we wouldn't have the subdiv here. It would just look like this. But I'm just showing you that as an example so you guys can see how it's done. Right? So we've extruded again, we've scaled that, we've extruded, and this is pretty much how you do it. Now, at this point, if I want to extrude again, I can extrude just the top or the sides. In this case, the top makes more sense because it's just the top and not the bottom. Let's see. Yep. You can extrude it inwards or outwards. Let's try the sides. Boom. So I could easily, so just the sides alone, I could see this being very useful for like creating the head of a screw. Let me show you how we would do that. Let's procedurally model the head of a screw. You ready for this, guys? We're going to start with a cylinder. Let's just assume that the top of the screw is cylindrical. All right, so we have our cylinder. Oops. All right, we're going to go ahead and give this less depth. And I just want to cut a hole into it. So let's take a cube. Let's do a join geometry so we can see the cube. Let's go ahead and set its position. Let's just set it like a little bit higher so we can deal with it. Let's extrude the mesh. Oops. Extrude mesh. And I just want to extrude just the sides. Now in this case, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. What you could do is you could trick it and say, actually I don't want to extrude it. And then you could say, yes I do. I only want to extrude the sides. Right, and then hold on. Oh, that's not going to work. I guess you couldn't trick it. Maybe I thought you could trick it. That's fine. We'll do it the other way around. All right, so for the selection, we want specific sides, so we'll take specific indices. We'll do and we'll do compare, and we're going to grab a bunch of indices. We're going to do an integer. We're going to take the result. We want to take, let's see, I want to do and 0 and 1. Let's check. Okay, there we go. So 0, 1, we got those two. It's doing more than I asked it to do, though. That's weird. Actually, you know what? I just realized it really doesn't matter if the, well, it's fine. We'll keep going. I'm blabbing on. Quit yapping. All right. 2. And I'll just say this. There we go. 0, 1, and 2. And then we need 3. Okay. 0, 1, 2, 3. And why isn't it working? Should just be adding them all up together. Unless I can cycle through them. I haven't tried that. Hold on. Big brain over here. Hi, Kenny. Sorry I'm late. I was making a planet scene. Oh, that's cool, dude. What's it for? Is it for a client project? Either way, that's awesome. All right, here's what we're going to do, though, guys. I am going to scale this down a bunch. Scale this down as well. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm going to move this up. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete everything under a certain point. I'm going to delete the geometry that's under a certain position to get rid of the rest that I didn't want. And then this position will be separate X, Y, Z. The Z, I want it to be compared, and I want it to be equal to 0. Or actually, I want it to be less than 0. Or a certain amount. There we go. Perfect. All right, and then I'm going to set the position again. I'm going to push it down. I'm going to scale the elements. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Perfect. Now just make sure it's intersecting the way that I want it to. And perfect. And now what we want to do is we want to cut this shape out of our cylinder. So how do we do that? We're going to need a mesh boolean, and we're going to do a difference operation. This is our first mesh, this is our second mesh, and boom, we have a screw head just like that. And was that more complicated than it needed to be? Probably, but you get the idea. Now, here's where things get really interesting, right? You can then go in here and you can say subdivision surface, right? And it's going to look absolutely awful. But if you do, I think you do split edges. Let me see if this works. Split edges first. Nope, that's not going to work. Hold up. Let's see if it works over here. Subdivision surface, edge split. Ah, doesn't want to work for us. Let's try bevel. There we go. Little bevel there. And it's still somewhat procedural. I mean, I guess technically your modifier is also a procedural thing, right? Using or will add the criteria. Oh, really? Oh, why am I using and? Oh, okay, maybe it's combining it when I do and. Should I try that again? We'll try it again with that because I like that might work. Oh, and then obviously you can shade smooth. Boom, shade smooth. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, it is done. And then obviously there would be more to this. Like it wouldn't just be that, right? You would have different shapes for the top, and there would be so much more. There's ways to set that up, right? Like if right now it's just a plus, but you can have one that's like a hex. So you could have like a cylinder, right? And the cylinder is the thing that, what is it? Take this out of here. The cylinder is the thing that cuts into it, right? And you just take this radius, make it less. Maybe we have like 1, 2, 3, what, like a hex like that. And then all you do is you set the position, right? And you're like, you know what? I want this to be up a little bit like that. And now look, you have a cylinder that cuts into it. But you're probably thinking, well, that's cool, Kenny, but how do we give the user the choice? Well, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is you have to add your little group input over here, and you have to use a switch menu. Sorry, menu switch. Now, here's our first option. Here is our second option. And we can name them respectively. If we press the N key and we go to our node, I'll name the top one Phillips, and the bottom one is going to be hex. Okay, now over here, we have to plug this into the top. And now look, we can choose between hex and Phillips, and I mix them up. They should be opposite. Wait, Phillips and hex. Yeah, okay, there we go. So this is our hex, this is our Phillips, and you can see we have our menu here on the right. If you look here where my mouse is, the user can choose a hex nut or a Phillips. You can also have them scale up and down if you'd like them to be able to scale this option. So we have just created a more or less procedural way to decide what the head of the screw will look like, a hex or a Phillips. And it's really that easy. Not too complicated, right? Excuse me. Now I want to try, we're going to delete all this because we don't need all this. I'm going to try a cube with the geometry nodes, make a new thing, and then I want to do extrude mesh. And I want to try your, what did you say it was? Or. Let's try this. We want to extrude the indices that we choose, and we want them to be compared. But we want the integer to be equal to a specific amount. Okay, it could either be 0 or 1. Yes, let's try it. And you are a genius, my friend. You're a genius. Now let's see. Can we combine this again with another OR? And then we go here. 1, 2, and ladies and gentlemen, thank Mr. Imperfect Link because he is a genius and he has figured out that using the OR statements, we can successfully extrude this mesh. Now, this does look complex. In this instance, I would probably take these and I would combine them all into a node group. Control G and just keep them right here. And then we can like rename them and I could just like, I don't know, I can name them whatever I want. Where's rename? I could just name this, I don't know, like select sides. Boom. And if we ever want to tab into this, we can reselect the sides that we want to reselect. And boom. That's our hex right there, right? We can frame it. We can say, I don't know, hex. Or I'm sorry, Phillips. This is the Phillips. Boom. Phillips. And then you could, so this is like an easier way to simplify it with like node groups and things like that as well. How do you add the screw thread? Ooh, challenge accepted, my friend. Let me think. That's a tough one. Let's try. Let's see what Blender gives us. Let's go ahead and do a spiral. I want to see what this spiral curve looks like. Curve to mesh. Circle. All right, let's see. I feel like this is probably how you'd go about doing it, like something like this. Only thing is, with a screw, right? So there's a couple of things to consider here. With a screw, you're going to be able to. This is actually probably the perfect way to do it. And you have your start radius. You can actually add a cylinder. You know what? Let's just build the whole darn thing because now we're here, right? Let's build it. This will be our little project. We'll make a screw generator. Generate tort. Okay. So we need a cylinder for the inside anyway. So let's do a join geometry here. Add our cylinder. And we can drive this cylinder height and width the same way we drive it over here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a math. I'm going to multiply this by 1. Okay. I'm going to give the user the option to decide the start and the end radius. I'm sorry. The height is what I want to decide here. And that height is going to be the same here and here. The only thing is, I believe, even though these are the same height, the reason they don't look the same height is because they're not aligned perfectly, because I think that the start of this should be 0. No, hold on. I'm going to have to set the position of this down below -0.5. Yep, perfect. Okay, and then we'll do 0.02 for the thread. Perfect. So we have our thread. We have our screw. I'm going to type in screw generator. All right, so we have our bottom of the screw. We have our thread. With the thread, though, it's a curved circle right now. Obviously, the lower the resolution, the better, because it's going to run faster. But if you want it to be more like flat, instead of a curved circle, you could do a curve. I think not. Is it a curved line? Yeah, you could do a curved line, and then you could like extrude that curved line. Right now, you can see that the curved line looks like this, right? So that's like technically a thread. However, it's not ideal, right? Yo, you can also adjust the pitch of it too. Let me think of what else we could use. Curve rectangle. Right, let's see what curve primitives they offer us. Curve primitives. Oh, here we go. I want a curve quadrilateral. And then for the value, I don't know, like something really, really, really small. That looks okay. Why does it look so weird? All right, we'll come back to that. That's weird. I think I would use a mesh grid with 4 verts and scale the top edge so it tapers when it tapers, then converts to a curve. Interesting. I didn't think of that. That's an interesting one. Oh, you're saying like you literally extrude the mesh? That's actually a good idea too. It's not your worst idea. So here's another cool one though, right? Again, we can multiply this, right? Or we can have the user decide the height of it. The only thing is, look, it's not quite matched up, and we got to figure out why that is. This spiral curve, for some reason, doesn't want to be the height that it says that it is. And I'm wondering why that might be. Is everything based around this? I feel like the spiral is not based around where it should be based around. Let me see. Obviously, the height matches, but for some reason, the spiral, the bottom of the spiral should always equal the bottom of this. Let me see something. Set position. Here's what we're going to do. For the position, we're going to do combine X, Y, Z. Whoa. All right, so this Z, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set this position too. See if we can have them match. That's weird. It's almost like I wonder if I do this. It's almost like the origin of the spiral is not going to be the same. I'm trying to figure out why this would be. Thread profile is a trapezoid. I really have no idea why this wouldn't. I'm brainstorming hard here. The depth is here, but that's automatically controlled right there. The helix is at the bottom. That's such a PIA. How do I reset the origin of this? Is there an origin? Oh, that would have been so nice. Okay, let me rethink this for a minute. God, that's such a... Oh, okay. Can we use bounding box? Well, let's use a bounding box of this. No, I don't want to... I still want this to be here. I want the bounding box of this. I want to use the minimum for the Z, maybe? Oh, we're on to something there. See where I'm getting here, guys, though? Or do we do the reverse, the bounding box of the spiral, and we use the minimum? Hold on. Hold on. Bounding box of the spiral. And we use the minimum of that Z. Set the position. How about the maximum? Son of a gun. Transform half height. Transform the cylinder to half height. That's also, that could be an easy fix. Let's try it. Oh, sorry, you meant the spiral. I'm assuming you meant the spiral. Okay. wherever you set the height of the cylinder, use half of that to offset the cylinder or the helix. Oh, I got you. What the heck? Or is it a fourth? It's a fourth. Bro, what? Wait. I think I know what to do. Hold on. Mesh circle. Oh my gosh. Let's do a mesh circle. Let's extrude it up. Figured it out. Don't use it for height, just for offset. It's okay, I figured it out. Boom. Alright. That was a stupid solution, but I like it. Well, it wasn't stupid if it works, I guess. Alright, the radius, start and end radius also need to be determined here, and here, and here. So stupid. That was a stupid solution. Oh my gosh. I am irritated. Alright, for the rotations, that's going to be thread count. Start radius, this is just going to be radius. The value, what is that again? The height. Alright, now, here's the fun part. Let's try to place the head of the screw on the top part, right? Alright, and we'll come back to this for the tapering and stuff. Don't you guys worry. I'm not gonna let you down here. Alright. Oh crap. I didn't fill the... Here, hold on. There we go. Okay. So, all of this right here is like the bottom part of the screw. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do I'm just gonna join it in a new frame and call it, I don't know, bottom. Alright, and then we're gonna do a little one of these. Join geometry. We're gonna take this and we're gonna make a whole new area up here, and this is gonna be like the top of the, this will be the top of the screw. It'll just basically be a cylinder, and it'll be a lower radius, depth. Let's set its position. Now we could just move it up manually, but you know we don't want to do that because we want it to be procedural. So let's take the bounding box of this, and let's see if we can do a combine XYZ. Let's take the max. Oh crap, I have to, hold on. I need to join geometry. I don't want the bounding box in there. I just want this in there. And I want that. There we go. All right, and then as we learned from last time, we will not use a cylinder. We will use a mesh circle. We will do an end-on. We will extrude the mesh, and then we will set its position to the top, which we're almost there. If we look into this, yeah, okay, we're going to have to adjust our radius. All right, so right now, the top is extruding. That's down, that's up. Okay, so we want it to be up, but we want it to still like line up perfectly with the top, and it's not doing that. We want that maximum point to be the Z. Let me just see something. No, I didn't think so. Although, curious what this would do. Same concept, yeah. All right, so let me think. I got a stupid idea. Top. Wait. Let's do this. Let's just try to align this to where it needs to be. Really, it needs to be at the top of the height, which the height is, whatever the height is where that needs to be on the combine XYZ. So this value is right there. Boom. So whatever the height of the thing is, we snap it to that height. Okay, good. And then that is when we can extrude the mesh. And we extrude it up. Boom. We decide how much it'll extrude up. We do need to rejoin the bottom though. Join geometry and rejoin the geometry here. Okay, looks good. And then obviously we can adjust like this right here. So like if you wanted to though, here's what's interesting about this. You can choose the top of your bolt, right? Like, so this is where it gets like really interesting for me at least. Right here, you have one option. This is your first option. This is your hex, right? Or well, actually, hex would be 6, right? So this is your hex bolt, okay? And you can adjust the offset, which is the height. But what I find interesting is that this can be a preset in a switch menu. So you can do a menu switch. This could be one of those presets, okay? So I could come over here and just be like, you know what? I want to decide what I want in here. And one of those things that I think I might want is this thing here. Hold on. This thing, which is going to be in its own. I'll just put it in a frame. I'm not going to group it right now because I'll be tempted to duplicate that group. So I'm just going to join this in a new frame. Put this all the way over here. I'm actually going to duplicate this. Okay. This is going to be our first option. And we're going to output that right here. So here's our first option A. And if I choose B, it's going to be nothing because we haven't designed a second one. This is a hex bolt. So I'll rename this in here to hex bolt or a hex head. And then the second one's just going to be, I don't know, round head, right? And then for the round head, I'm going to duplicate all of this. Actually, I'll just duplicate this part because I can simply do that. And I can drive this into the round head here. And then I'll switch it to the round head and we'll just give this more vertices. And now when we switch back and forth, we have the hex head and the round head. Boom. We now have two options. Oh yeah, you guess you need a, what is it, the dome head, right? The cap head. For the cap head, we would have to do a, I wonder if let's see if this works. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try it. Try that. And we'll give this the last geometry. I just want to see if we were to subdivision surface this, I wonder if it would just round over kind of a little bit. Huh. Could be perfect if only it, I wonder if you do merge by distance here. Huh. You know what they need, and you know what they need in geometry nodes that they don't have? They need a bevel node, and they need a like remesh node. Now, merge by distance is arguably like their remesh node, but it really doesn't do that. It literally just merges the vertices by distance, which is like a PIA, in my opinion. I mean, this is close to what we want, but it's not quite there, right? Another thing you could do is you could literally get a... Yeah, did they promise us a bevel node? That would be so nice if they would do that. So for the subdiv, what time is it? Yeah, the subdiv looks good, but I'll be honest, I think I'd rather go with a sphere for this one. So let's do a UV sphere. I'm going to show you guys a cool trick. We're also going to undo this. Okay. I am going to set that position to the same thing as before. However, we're going to delete the stuff that we don't need. We're going to delete the geometry that's under the z-axis. So we're going to delete anything under the position, position of, I don't know, anything that's, we'll just compare it to less than 0. We'll say less than 0, but we want to do combine x, y, z, and we only want the z. I'm sorry, we want to do position separate x, y, z. We want the z. Boom. There we go. Okay, so now we have just the top because we've deleted everything that we don't need underneath. And then what we could do is we could just simply recombine this with a, I don't know, I could recombine it with a mesh circle whose position I'm also setting to that exact same thing right here, reroute. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. Ngon. Z. Oh, that's because. Hold on. We're resetting it again. Hold on. Let me just see if this works without it. It does. Okay, cool. The only thing is, since we don't have enough vertices, there we go. We need 40 and 40, and the more, basically the more vertices you have, the less likely it is to delete something. So we'll do 0. We'll do negative 0.01. Perfect. And now we have the quote unquote dome. And now I guess you could, if you really wanted to, from this point, you could transform the geometry and adjust the like the size of it. But right here, there's your, like, I guess domed cap, right? But we want the radius to be controlled by the same thing, so let's use a math node. Let's output that here. And now we can control it with the same concept. Perfect. And then again, we'll just use a transform geometry node. We want to transform the scale on the z-axis, so we'll use a combine x, y, z. And then we want to control the z right here. But the only problem is, now you'll notice it's transforming it from the origin point, right? So how do we get around that? Also, I don't really need this anymore. How do we get around that? Let me think. We could transform it from the start. We could transform this geometry. We want to combine the x, y, z. There we go. Perfect. And just to make sure everything's working, scale it in and out. Still looks good. Google says a workaround to bevel node is use a fillet curve node and then change the mode to poly. Interesting. All right. So far, let's see what we got. Where's our menu? For the geometry, we want this to be a dome. So we have a dome, we have a round head, we have a hex head. Okay, now the question is, how do we also change, we want to change like the size of everything too. I want to show you guys a cool trick though. If you go in here, drop this down, if you go to the height, right above this, we want a, like a new item. We want a panel, and the panel is going to sit right here. All these things are going to go in the panel. We want height, radius, and thread count. And then we're just going to rename the panel, and we're going to call this base, or we're going to call it threads. Okay, because that's like the thread section. We're going to add another panel, and we're going to call this the top. And in the top, we want to have this menu, which is going to not be a menu, but rather, so it's going to let me put it in there. Here we go. This menu should be called head type. Perfect. And we have a hex head right now. And then what we need to do next is we need to decide what we're going to do to cut into that hex head. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to have to do a, let's see, a straight across, which is, what is it, regular. Then we need a Phillips head, and then we need a hex. So let's do those three options. So we're going to need another menu switch. So I'm going to add that here. And we're going to need to plug this into it. And this menu switch is going to be for the, I don't know, like screw type, maybe. I feel like that makes sense. Screw type, that's fine. Okay, now for this one, we want a boolean mesh boolean. We want to do a difference operation. And let's just start with a cube, because this cube is going to be our Phillips, our regular head. Perfect. Okay, so our cube is right here. We need to set its position. Notice how when I move it up, now it's cutting into our shape, right? And I want it to be thin like this, something like that, right? Now, obviously, you probably wouldn't see this too standardly here, but that's really what we're looking for ultimately, right? We're going to go here. We're going to do cavity. Not going to lie, this is like not a terrible bolt generator so far. You can adjust the thread count, right? You can adjust the radius. You can adjust the height. That's pretty good. The only thing we don't have so far for the top is we don't have a way to adjust the top, the radius of like the top of this thing. But we can get to that. Okay, so here's the question. How do we start something at the top and then extrude it down? Well, I think what we're going to do instead of a cube is we're actually going to do a grid, and then we're going to set its base there. You could do a cube. You could, and you could cut it. You could easily adjust this right here. I think we're going to do a grid. All right, and then we're going to do extrude mesh, and I'm going to extrude it down. Although, no, hold on. Yeah, we want grid. We don't want any. We only want 2 vertices. Hold on. Extrude the mesh down. Set position high. There we go. Okay, so what we want to do is we want it to be thin. We want it to be basically whatever the radius is at the top, a fraction of that radius is, I feel like, what we'll do, like a percentage of the radius that we already have. So we have an extruding here. The extruding is going to have to do with the height as well. I think we do a percentage of that. So we're going to do a math multiply, and we'll just do a multiply by a negative number. We'll do negative, I don't know, like negative 0.70, like 70% of whatever the height is. And in this case, the height would go right here, and boom, that's the height of the whole thing. So that's not going to work. We need the height of the hex cap, which we have not defined yet. So let's do this. Let's get some parameters in here. We need a math node to control everything. And I'm just going to multiply it by 1 for right now. Let's go ahead and plug this in here. This is ultimately going to be the height of the top of this thing. So there's the offset, and what did I use up here? Oh, this is UV sphere. So I want that to be there. Let's make sure this is all working. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so now that I have that value, I want to plug that value into this, which will give us a percentage of that specific thing. And then we need to place it at the very top of the bounding box. How do we get that bounding box? We get it right here. Hold on. Reroute. Thank you. Bounding box. I want the bounding box of the output of the top. I want to get the min of this, and I want to plug it into the combined XYZ of this. Or no, I want the max. See if that worked. Did that work? All right, this needed to be a positive number. Oh, it needs to be 1.70. I'm so silly. Or does it need to be 1.25? Oh, wait a minute. How do we make this sit at the top of our shape? Let me think. Let's do that, and let's do a math node and add a little bit, because it is working. The only reason it's not working is because we need to add just a little teensy weensy bit. And now we come back down here and we figure out, okay, what is it going to be? 1.1? Why is this being so wacko? Should be only starting at the top. Okay, I got it. So remember how we knew where to start the top of this? That was this thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that to the offset. Now it starts right there, but we need to add to that, which is right here. We're going to add to that. We're going to add how much? We're going to add... What? No, silly. Oh, I need to do vector. I need to do vector math. And I need to add to the z. Ah, okay. And I need to make a vector. Hold on. I need to multiply. No, hold on. I need to multiply it by 0.75. No. 1.75. Negative 1.75. Or I just need to add like before. 0.25. I mean, that kind of worked. It's not really working the way that I want it to. Let's see if it works when we change this to a round head. Okay, it does still work. I did not think this was going to be as much of a pain as it is. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now here's the other thing: the size of the grid. I say we do like a small percentage of each one. Again, like I'm thinking like 0.25 of the width of this thing. So we'll do this 0.25, but then the width is going to be. Is that the value of the offset? No, that's the wrong thing. The radius. We need to control the radius. So hold on. I'll do this again. This is going to be the radius. And in this case, the radius is already being controlled. Why is it being controlled? Hold up. Radius should be controlled right here. All right, so we're controlling the radius. And then what we need to do is we need to feed that into, hold on, into this, which is here. Yep, that's the radius. Feed it in there. Did I do that correctly? And now that's the second value. So that second value is actually radius top. And it does change dynamically. Good. I think we'll do 0.5. Yeah, that looks good. And then for the other one, we will take this, reroute it here, and we'll slot it in right here, and then we'll decide how thin we want it to be and how thick. There we go. Now, when we adjust the radius of the top, it should adjust dynamically. Perfect. And is this a bunch of node spaghetti? Absolutely it is. And do I love it? Absolutely I do. I live for this stuff, guys. Come on. This would be a great moment to just quickly talk about BCON. So if you'll just give me a moment of your time for BCON 2026, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, you heard it here first. BCON, Austin, Texas, April 13th to April 14th. in Austin. There's going to be a lot of amazing Blender people there. I will be there. I've already got my ticket. I'm ready to go. And we need more sales on these because guess what? Not as many people want to go this year as last year and in past years. I think that it's going to be an amazing conference. There's some amazing, amazing sponsors on this page right here that we're going to go and meet. And I might even be able to do a talk up on stage. I hope I do. They're still calling for sponsorships, and they might even still be accepting last-minute presentations. So if you're interested, please give this a chance here, guys. Again, BCON in 2026. It is April 13th, April 14th. Check it out. Highly suggest it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have about 20 minutes left. Let's continue on this. So we have this value right here is the height. So we need to readjust this. We need to call this top, or let's do height top. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to put that into this area here. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. The screw type is going to be A or B. That's not screw type. We want to call that, I guess that is screw type. Okay, so now we need the same thing, but this time for the grid, we want to have this piece, but really we want it to be, well, a little bit different. Let's really quickly, though, call these what they are. This piece right here is going to be our round head. So let's go ahead and rename this round head. Let's rename this one. This one was what? The hex head? Oh no, this one's the hex head. This one is our round head, and the last one is the dome head. Perfect. And then these three things, all of this should be moved up here. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Screw type should be here. Perfect. All right, and then this is to control that. This is to control that. This is to control that. And this is all responsible. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Join these in a frame. This is going to be called, I don't know, like screw boolean. Yeah, this node tree has gotten out of hand, but it's okay. It's okay. This is going to be like the finalizer right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and join these in a new frame. I'm going to call this like, I don't know, finalizer. Cool. All right. Let's test this out and see what we're missing. I think we have the thread count down. Let's go ahead and just zoom in real quick and just see what we can adjust and what we can't. All right, so we have the thread count, right? We can adjust the amount of threads. We can adjust the radius of the bottom. We can adjust the height of the entire thing. Perfect. Cool. We can adjust the screw type, A and B, but we don't have the other one yet. We can do a hex head. We can do a round head. We can do a dome. We can adjust the radius of the top. We have a few things to adjust, clearly, but as we adjust, it looks good. We can adjust the height of the top. Now, you can see the height currently breaks the other thing, so we got to fix that too. But it's looking pretty solid. Like, overall, I'm pretty happy with like how far we've come, even though we didn't really add a set material at the end. Oh, yeah, we do need a set material. So this looks good so far. Yeah, let's do a little set material. Let's do a little set material. We don't have material. Well, that's a problem. We're gonna need to add a metallic shader and a material output. Duh. Let's do that. Metallic. There we go. Oh, I forgot I didn't even assign it yet. Let's just make sure everything's working. Perfect. All right, it's working great. Awesome. All right, lower that roughness. Looking good, looking good. See how we're living. Nice. Cool. Might need to shade this bad boy smooth, huh? Oh. Oh. Blech. All right, maybe we only shade the thread smooth. You know what? We can hold on. We don't want to shade the top of it smooth. Let's shade the bottom smooth. There we go. And then for the threads, where's our threads at? That should be everything. Why does it look so crappy? Oh, because we did quadrilateral. Wait. Hold on. Maybe instead of a quadrilateral, we do like... what else is there? Hold on. What was wrong with trapezoid? Oh! You were saying this earlier, weren't you? Yeah, you totally were. And I wasn't listening. That's my bad. Oh, I see. Okay. What the heck? Okay. What am I looking at here? Like, did I do this right? Okay. Okay, alright. I'm not sure why, but this looks a little whack. Why is it so, like... Oh, I haven't tried smooth by angle. Oh, that's nice. Maybe curve normal Z up? What do you mean, bro? Bro, what are you talking about? Imperfect link. I like your logo, dude. Your logo's sick. Set curve normal. You're smart. How did you know that? How'd you know that, bro? You're so smart. All right, let's see. Bro is smart as heck. Oh, I guess we should be able to adjust the thread thickness too, right? Hold on. Okay, I think I figured out in order to make it look like, I guess... Oh. In order to make it look like half decent, you would want like a slight outward thing like that. Trapezoid needs to be rotated? Possibly. Oh, that might be the move. Thoughts on that? Yeah, I feel like that looks better. There we go. That does, I think that does look better. Much better. Except for it's getting some weird like artifacts here. Why? On Z? Yeah, I agree with that. I was about to do something. That's right. Alright, now instead of this controlling that, I'll do a reroute. No, reroute. Here we go. Alright, now this new input is going to be, I'll just call this, I don't know, thread thickness. Yeah, I feel like that looks better. Like, yeah, I think that looks better. Obviously, like, you'd have to really mess around with the taper towards the bottom, but overall, like, I'm pretty pleased with that. Obviously, the top, not 100% pleased with, but this is looking pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with like how far we've come, even though we didn't really do like a crazy amount. Let's do like a crazy looking like screw. Hold on a second. I want to do a crazy like thread count, and I want to do, I don't know, like really thin. I want the top to be round. You could really like, honestly, if you really like put some time into it, you could probably make like some crazy thing in geometry nodes for this. Cylinder res. Oh, you're saying the cylinder res is bad? Gotta go see you on Discord. Awesome. Thanks, Imperfect Link. I appreciate the feedback, man. You were super helpful today. I feel like it's fun to like work with you guys, you know? Like, I enjoy it. I mean, there can be times where it's tough because it's always tough to understand what people are saying over the internet, but overall, I feel like we had a like pretty solid live stream today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. One of the things I did want to mention, like I said, this is gonna be like the last, like this is pretty much the last like live stream. Not ever, like the last. This is supposed to be the last premium live stream. I set up the settings wrong, but overall, like I still really enjoyed doing these live streams with you guys. Like I said, for the people that were premium members, we had a lot of amazing things that we had created. What was the one that we did last time? Yeah, this was one of the ones we did last time. We modeled this this microphone, which was pretty cool. And then before that, we did we do plant growth? Oh, this one, I never got around to making a tutorial about this, but this is a cool one. I did this, I'm sorry guys, I completely forgot to mention this one. So this is something I was working on the other day. I kind of want to show you guys what this looks like. Hold on. See if I have the render on my desktop. I think I do. Where is this darn thing? Did I put it in my downloads? I don't know where it went. But I do have a animation of what this looks like. Because I was like, I gotta do this, you know? Where is this? It's kind of like loosely based on this, but hold on. What the heck is it, bro? Oh, here it is. Yeah, so we didn't cover this. This is really similar. You can kind of see like this is like a cool little plant growth effect. This was something I was like messing around with that I thought turned out really interesting. A lot of this stuff is really just like geometry proximity and stuff like that, but I kind of was like messing around with this the last time. Um, I thought it turned out pretty interesting. I don't know what you guys think, but I like this one a lot. Is anybody going to BCON that's in the chat though? I'd really like to know because I'm going. I'm super excited. I'm like hyped for it. Um, yeah, this is a cool one though. But yeah, this was like a fun one to make. So cool example of geometry proximity, and it looks really good. Like as you zoom in here, you can see like a lot of this stuff is like photo scanned. Like these are all like photo scanned assets, so you can see like there's some really nice like depth of field going on here. Right, like everything's photo scanned, so it looks really nice. Right, like you can zoom in pretty far and it still looks pretty decent. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I would say that probably concludes the live stream. We did a lot today. We did mainly geometry node stuff. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you guys did too. And I really hope you guys have a great day. Keep on blending. Seriously, check out BCON if you haven't already. Again, I'm just going to drop the link in there one more time for you guys. BCON 2026. Can't express how excited I am for it. And this is, no, it's not using hair. It's all geometry nodes. I just can't express how excited I really am for this. Please consider going if you haven't already got your tickets. Check it out. Tickets are on sale right now, so definitely check them out. And then also, yeah, so Mark, you were asking geometry nodes wise, like what does this look like? This is all it is right here. Pretty simple. The hard part about this is getting like assets that look really good, like the photoreal, like quote unquote photoreal stuff. That's what you want. Is there any other cool ones in here? Oh yeah, and then this was the other live stream we did. This was the one of the free ones we did, but this was a fun one. This is the Sigma camera that we modeled. Pretty cool one. Again, really fun like 3D modeling practice there. Super duper awesome. All right, guys, have a great day. I will talk to you soon, and I'll see you in the next tutorial or the next live stream. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you at BCON.